Hello, and welcome again to my Lead What You Live podcast with Tina Lizzio. That's me. And I have an exceptional guest in the house today with me. He's in Georgia. He's a very special man and leader, and will be one of the best interviews and informative that you are about to hear. So get ready as I introduce Saint Day Adeogba, aka Coach Day, from outside Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome, Day, to my Lead What You Live podcast.
Tina, thank you so much. It is a pleasure to be here, and my prayers that I may remain intentional and empower your viewers to really be attracted to this podcast and keep watching because a lot of great things are said here. So thank you for having me today.
That's absolutely correct. So thank you in advance for the conversation that we're about to have with intention. I want you all to know, all my viewers, that I met Day Adeogba over 5 years ago at a wedding in Tulum of a mutual great friend. And what an impression that he and his life partner made on me during this weekend extravaganza. So I met Day, and we aligned on a lot of different things around coaching and transformation, personal development, growth, leadership, and what I was up to and what he has been up to for 30 years now. He is the creator and architect of Your Day Balance Game and the 2D Independence Program. We are going to get into the YDBG and the amazing Balance Chart app, which is a trust account. We'll talk about that, and my history with Day and why he is here. And I identify him as a top leader in the field of transformation and personal development. So, Day, take us back. Where did it all begin? Where did your transformational journey begin?
Tina, it began, I would say, in 1991, and it probably began even before that. And my goal is not to be too long-winded, but from the moment I came out, my father delivered me, and I was born in Harlem World, New York, back in '74, and he literally delivered us in the tenements at 106 and Second Street in Harlem. So when I was pulled out, he looked back, he looked at me and said, "This is a Buddha." That's when it began. You can see the energy in me that a Buddha is someone that leads people to enlightenment or goes towards enlightenment. So when I came in, it's part of just how I came to play. I don't want to get caught up in all the external successes. And no matter how much it was impressed upon me from watching life and watching those successful people around me, I always ask the deeper question, why? Why am I here? How does this all tie in together? So I would say, to answer your question, that's where it really started. Now, where it really started, where I really took proactiveness is when I stepped into college in '91. And I said, even though I was raised in a lifestyle of movement from martial arts to working the farm, because we moved from New York to New Mexico. So even though I was raised in that, I truly chose health and fitness for myself in '91 when I stepped into college and said, I want to build this stronger body. I want to feel this assurance, this integrity, this strength. And it was really for egoic reasons because I envisioned a stronger masculine body means you attract the ladies more and they feel your confidence as a man. Little did I know that it was a very small piece of it all. It was a very small piece. So by 1993, so that was 91, 1993, I started getting into the metaphysical work and I attracted a spiritual coach. And that's where things got very interesting. Yeah. So I did a deep dive for about 3 years to really understand the metaphysics to what I was experiencing the physics. Because all it was eating, exercising. And I realized that was a small piece that was really my code, my consciousness. And I didn't understand that because no one was teaching it. But when I started delving into that world, the best way I can say is that when Michael Jordan picked up that basketball, it was like when I picked up that world of metaphysics and transformation. And from 1993 to now, I play that world as if I'm a beginner. I'm just an all-star beginner, and I'm very excited about what I'm gonna learn tomorrow, and it just moved me forward. So from 1993 to 1996, I was just attempting to see how those two worlds communicated because they're very much independent of each other. You might go to church, you might go to Tony Robbins seminars, you might go to Deepak Chopra seminars, but that's totally different when I walk in the gym. So those two worlds didn't really meet back then. but I could see the connection. And in 1996, I became a coach. I became more than just a trainer. I became a lifestyle coach, a trainer slash lifestyle coach. So when you'd come to me to move your body and think you want to lose weight, real quick you realize I was way more than that because I shifted your perspective on life real quick, and I started tying the two together. So this became profound. I started seeing big jumps in that area. And finally, in 1999, I decided this was going to be it. Because I had a lot of different options on what I could do in life. Because of all the external programming. But in 1999, after deep, extensive dive into my consciousness and listening to my soul and listening to where it wants to move as opposed to where my mind wanted to move, I finally surrendered and it said, "You're going to do something great in health and fitness. You're going to bring a paradigm to the world that the world hasn't seen yet." At that point, I locked in. And that's when I started creating this game called the Your Day Balance Game. And it's been one heck of a journey since even 91, but specifically 1999, because I haven't wavered one iota. And before that, I could waver if the wind blew. So that's where I started. I'm going to pause right there.
Thank you. Thank you. So, what I want the viewers to know before we get into that creation of the Your Day Balance Game, uh, when I met Day, I had already myself gone through different types of transformational trainings, like the Landmark Forum, and I had done Tony Robbins and walked on coals and Joe Dispenza's advanced meditation retreats and everything in between. I am a coaching consultant with the ICF, International Coaches Federation, focusing on life strategy. And so had gone through transformation and formal training myself to become a coaching consultant. And I had different mentor coaches throughout the years for different skill sets, working with me for different skill sets, really, and not so much a particular life coach or a mentor that addressed the totality of me as a human being. And so when I met, there was a little bit of a lack of clarity of purpose. Where am I going? Why am I here? What am I doing? And here I met Day Adeogba at this wedding. And in speaking to this man over a couple of days, it became very clear to me that he had a level of clarity that I didn't have. And I saw, wow, I believe this man could be a very good coach for me. And so we began actually, the timing was perfect and very supportive. It was actually at the beginning of COVID 5 years ago. And I worked with Day very closely, and we can talk about that, what the program is, for 2 years. And did deep dive and especially on some of the works like Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, David Hawkins, Power versus Force, really looking at maps of consciousness, the Tao of health, sex, and longevity, different works that really integrating them into creating standards and guidelines and really looking at what are my unwavering principles? What do I value? What are those values that subordinate those principles? What's my vision? What's the mission? Creating a circle of influence of people that with alignment. And so I really found working with Day and his community of coaches, they were next level in consciousness, consistency. The words matched the actions, and he showed up with consistency with me for a couple of years. And I am forever grateful for that experience and all that I learned, the knowledge and the learnings, the experience, and the wisdom that has come from that. And so we stayed in touch, and I also now work with Day and moving forward the Your Day Balance Game, because for all of the programs that I have seen out there, the 2D independence program that they have that we're going to talk about now, and the app, the technology behind this balance chart, and the YDBG app technology with recording and documenting lifestyle habits. We all struggle for accountability, holding ourselves accountable first and foremost, and having these different tools and having coaches and having programs to support us on our journey and discovering, getting clear on our vision. and what do we want? What do we value? And moving us forward in achieving our goals. The frameworks are spectacular. So thank you. Thank you for what you have created. And I really enjoy working with you. Tell us why DBG, why your day balance game.
Thank you, Tina. Before I answer your question, I'd like to say that one of the things, what I love about Tina is that Tina is very observant. She watches. And that's why it's called lead what you live, because if you're not leading your walk, Tina's going to slip through it very, very quick. And that's what I love. I love people can really see the truth, see who's really being it and who's just acting. And so Tina watched everything that weekend, how I operated, how I interacted with my significant other, what I ate. She was watching everything. And by the time that weekend ended, she's like, this guy might be who he says he is. I might lean in. I'm like, oh, I'm who I say I
He
am.
might be able to hold me
Wizzy,
accountable. I'm
Wizzy
tough.
Wig. Yeah, she's like, he might be able to hold me accountable because it ain't easy to hold me accountable. I'm a powerhouse. So at that point, I asked Tina, I said, what is it that you're looking to create? And at that time, she had a vision for herself, which is this is part of it, but really creating a transformational center in DC. And I'm like, that's great. And let me prepare you for it. Because I've been in this world a long time. And it's not as glorious as you think, the end result. It's like what's most important is that you experience it powerfully. And that's a beautiful segue into this game. Why the YDBG? The Unity Balance game is a process of surrender. When people said, how did I get this far? Surrender. What do I do today? Surrender. And what does that surrender mean? It means if someone says they're surrendering, you got to look where in their life they're consistently allowing and letting go, allowing that new information to move through, allowing that wisdom to pour over them, and letting go of limiting beliefs and judgments and things that no longer serve them. And it's a day-to-day practice. Allow and let go. I don't think you know anything. So that's how I got this far in the game. I kept saying, God, guide me, because right now my mind wants to do this. I've seen people do this. I should have this. But then you move down that path and then you lose the light. You don't feel the inspiration. You don't feel the joy. All that stuff. Like, no, no, this is what I wanted to do. This is what's going to make me happy. And all of a sudden it's like, but I start losing that energy, that infinite energy. So that was my life. Always going for a second because something looked great, and all of a sudden getting into it and not feeling great. But I didn't mute that. I didn't mute it with the alcohol, the drugs, and the distractions. I kept paying attention because I was into health and fitness, and I didn't like using things that numbed what I was feeling. So instead, I faced it. I confronted it. And through thousands of times of confronting it, I started being guided by that spirit. And just like I tell anybody, your body will guide you to your highest self. It literally is a compass. And it's like a three-dimensional compass that says either you're heading north or south. And remember, you're always heading east-west because it's spinning. But either you're going east, west, north, or south. That means a higher state or to a lower state, and it don't miss. And so I became aware of this after years of being in a lab, because all of a sudden I was no longer in a training club, studio, center. The world shifted. I realized I was in a lab, and I was my number one subject. And everybody that came in was part of that subject. And I started capturing data. In 1999, I read that book, Seven Habits. And in there, this is after 8 or 9 years of deep work. I came across that book from another leader. And when I jumped into that book, it said one thing that I was able to extract and really look at and go deep. It said, if you sow a thought over and over again, you will reap an action. If you keep planting and sowing that action, you will reap a habit. If you keep planting that habit, you will reap character. If you keep planting that character, you'll reap destiny. And now it's like, that just resonates with me. That's so clear from thought to destiny. So all of a sudden, it's not just my fate. No, you have power from your thought. And some people feel that's just their faith, and that's fine. But I'm clear that you have choice. And in the moment you choose, the destiny shifts. That's exciting. Now I'm engaged. But the piece that stood out to me, Tina, was if you keep planting that habit, you will reap character. I thought to myself, the way I was raised is that you can't change a grown man and grown woman's character. It's already set. That's why let me go work with kids because these guys are going to do what they do. And there's enough affirmation and confirmation to see that most adults will do what they do until they leave this earth. But I realized that one thing I was doing in my work in the lab because of my conviction and my clarity is I was shifting habits. Because my conviction was so strong, I could see a habit shifting people and I was able to see it. I'm like, I'm shifting habits here, but am I shifting character? I'm like, nah, I'm just shifting habits. No, I was shifting character. So that moment, all that coalesced in 1999. I was like, is this fitness or is this character fitness? And that became my thesis, which is actually the philosophy, the core philosophy of the game called character fitness. So 26 years later, I can tell you unequivocally, show me a man or woman's habits, and I'll tell you their character in life, and I don't miss. So it's neat how I designed the game to measure that, and it's from that one code. Ask that question: is this fitness or character fitness? So now, character fitness, which is the core philosophy that you might not hear a lot when I speak about it, but it's what's driving it, is the utilization of health and fitness to reveal, recreate, and revitalize your habits. So at that point, I said, what do I do next? And it said, measure something, grounded in reality. I said, okay, I want to measure something and ground in reality. I said, I've watched so many times I get on a path and then someone showed me something, a shiny object. I'm like, well, I'm gonna go lift that now. I'm gonna go eat that or do that now because that looks better. And it just keeps pulling off. And when you get back, you're like, why did I do that? Because someone comes out with the next greatest thing. So you see that a lot in the world of health and fitness. Somebody's always coming up with the next greatest thing, and it's just a lot of options. It's never going to end. But I realized over time that all that stuff is extra, that the majority of results will come from the main thing, and all that creative invention will just be additional. So I call it the 80-20. So I started focusing on what the 80 was. I said, show me the 80 and help me design a way of measuring someone's health and fitness around the 80. And that became my question. I want to do the thing right now that I can do at 100. Because there's a lot of stuff I do right now that I'm not going to do at 100. But I want to do what makes sense at 100. I want to do in this lab what makes sense. That means help me connect with my wife more, my kids, my life. I don't want to just be in here and say, look at me, look at my muscles, because I've seen it. It goes nowhere. That means people like, he's fit, but I don't want to be nothing like him. He's so insecure with his muscles. You see that a lot. Very insecure people, just
Yes.
beautiful on the outside, insecure on the inside. So you see all that. And I'm like, what is this? And finally I started figuring it out. And I realized, wow, this is not health and fitness. This is really character. And if I can measure this, what we call now game day, if I can design this game day that I can play at 100, then I'm doing something now that still makes sense at 100. Because a lot of stuff I was doing doesn't always make sense at 50 or 60. And now I'm 50. So I was thinking like this in my 20s. And so I started designing the game around what I call balance, because I know balance led me to the principle. And from there, the pieces started coming together, Tina, piece after piece. I kept asking the question and then revealed the next thing, the next thing. All of a sudden, the game just, it wasn't all of a sudden, it was from probably like 1999 until about 2014 that all the pieces start really coming together. And then I started really polishing it. And it really got polished by around 2023. So it only took from 1999 to about 2023 to really get this thing to, there it is, the Your Day Balance Game. This is it. And this is our
Yes.
target
And
market. So our target market is, we say three things and I'll be quiet, is somebody who is successfully unsuccessful. So that means they have the accoutrements of success, the house, marriages, maybe lost it, but the money. They have the basic successes that the world told them. If you have this, you're winning life. But they're not feeling that way. They're not experiencing that way because something's disconnected. So we call it successfully unsuccessful. And now they become aware that they might be codependent. That's what we figured out in the last 3 or 4
oh,
years.
yes.
It's a root cause of all addictions. It's called codependency. And someone who's aware of that was going to love this game. And last is somebody who knows or feels that they got to take care of their health and fitness. I'm not here to convince you of anything. But if you decide, like, I got to take care of my health and fitness, you're going to love this game. So, successfully unsuccessful, codependent, health and fitness. If those three things speak to you, which is the millions of people, then you might just love this game. That's why the Your Day Balance Game. The game's designed to take you from codependence to true independence. I haven't gone into how yet, but I want to pause right there and see what questions you have for me.
Well, I was very inspired in looking at when I saw the YDBG, the Your Day Balance Game, is a health and fitness platform powered by love and balance. A
Mm.
health and fitness platform powered by love and balance. I was like, okay, I like that. And sort of this focus on measurement. And with your engineering background, it's just blows my mind what you've created with the entire program. But looking at a way of measuring actually and doing a quarterly measure. Going to your facility in Georgia is an incredible experience, and actually going through and measuring how do we handle, putting through a series of exercise, how we handle chronic and acute stress, your level of flexibility, your cardio conditioning. It's just not one area. Like you said, it's not just about being lean and mean and having muscles and all that stuff. And this particular program can really show you despite how you might look on the outside or what the scale says, what's really going on, a bigger picture, and doing that evaluation, because it's the importance of measuring, right? What's that saying?
Mm.
What if we don't measure it, right? We can't manage what we don't measure. So the data, like results don't lie. Results don't lie. Our I always say health, wealth, and relationships is my thing with life strategy. My viewers know, and so scale doesn't lie. The bank account balance doesn't lie. The status of your relationships, like how are things working? Are you in codependent relationships? You know, what is the impact on your health and wealth in that codependency? So your platform of looking at health and fitness and sort of being and having this technology also measuring through the app, the YDBG balance app, balance chart of choosing habits at a beginning, intermediate, advanced, pro level, you know, different habits to keep you accountable in different areas, important areas. So you have the technology as your accountability for your lifestyle habits. And then also getting into consciousness, you know, groups, transformational groups, masterminds, so that you can get the feedback. So a scale is feedback, right?
Mm.
Tells us one measure. But also when it comes to relationships, getting feedback from the collective and those that are around us, personally and professionally, matters. You know, how am I showing up? How are we showing up? So it was such a comprehensive program that I identified in the YDBG, the Your Day Balance Game, that I was drawn to it. And so was so I recommend it to different people. I'm a huge supporter and enroller into this particular program because I've gone through it myself. I believe in it. It has worked for me in really finding purpose and creating. I want to talk about standards and guidelines, creating standards and guidelines.
So thank you. Are you complete with that thought?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome, awesome. So I'm gonna go back and give you the evolution of what you said because you're correct, and there's a slight evolution of it. So what is the Your Day Balance Game? It is a health and fitness game inspired by love, accountability, and balance. And that's what piece we missed years ago. We like the whole game started off with accountability. And you can't leave that out. That is the cornerstone of the game, is we're gonna measure and give you feedback, whether you like it or not.
You're
You told
going
me what you're
into
not
the
gonna.
lab. Love, accountability,
Exactly.
and
There
balance.
you go. You see? Yes. It's the lab. That's why we say health and fitness is a performance
Yes.
lab. This is where you'll come and you'll put it into motion performance. So what makes you unique than therapy or counseling is those are great for conversations. But here is action. It's a lab. It's with that thought. And it's not just going in the lab unconscious. It's going to the lab to understand what to pull out of it and understand how to improve it and how to relate to it and how to think, because that's what makes you unique. There's a lot of people that do health and fitness. You can do it to go to war. You can use health and fitness to go and compete. So just because you're doing health and fitness doesn't mean you're going to create what we're going to create. Once again, in this lab, we're going to do two things. We're going to measure and improve. And that's what's different between a lab and a mechanic shop. Mechanic shops are hospitals, the therapists and doctors. And they're to fix you and get you back on the road once you break down. But the lab is where you're proactive. You said weekly. You don't wait till you break down. You're always thinking, how can I improve spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically? And you're constantly upgrading your systems because you're measuring and you're improving. Like Tina said, the key is measurement. And no one has our measure. It's very unique because we're not just measuring anything. So for those who say we have measure, I'm like, what are you measuring? So we're measuring how well you love yourself, how well you're accountable, and how well you're balanced. And we're measuring those three things in a very unique way so that when they come together, it creates this trifecta called true independence. And we define true independence, which is really the antidote to codependency, as when the majority of your self-worth comes from trusting you, loving you, and being in the center of you. And a lot of people don't even know what each one of those mean, but when you can start understanding that and have a real way of measuring that and real feedback from data and people, and you can start really getting to that experience, and let me tell you, your experience of life will never be the same. And one of the things we say in this game is that the big game that we're playing, we're in a game called your experience of life. Some people say the big game is life. Life's a game that's great. If you don't pay attention to your experience, it ain't gonna be what you think. You might get caught up in all the external successes. But if you say the big game is experience in life, you're gonna love this. Because what really matters is how you relate to that family, that husband, that money. If you don't know how to relate to it, it will burn you out. It will create isolation. It will create depression. It will create insecurity. And that's what so many successful people come to this game because no one ever taught them how to relate to their success. And not only are we going to teach you in this game, we're going to measure so you have feedback so you're not just guessing. So that's the essence of it right now. What is the Your Day Balance game? A health and fitness game inspired by love, accountability, and balance. And now let's go into that word accountability because Tina said it great. She said measurement. And that's why I love asking people. I love myself. You know what? I ask them, how do you measure that? Once I say that, we're in another league. They're like, they start throwing stuff out there, like just ideas. But I'm like, no, we have real quantifiable data that we can show how it shows up in your body when you understand how to measure it and truly love yourself. So not only is that important, that accountability, but I study a lot of deep spiritual works and one of the books I like reading is called The Rosicrucian. They put this quote out there that just further confirmed that we're onto something. And I'm gonna read it for you, Tina. And you can see how important measurement is. Because once I read this, I'm gonna go back to how the game leads you to it. It says, back in the day, they said the whole thing was to teach the candidate the art of self-mastery. And anybody playing this game, we all could agree upon we're here to master self. And what that means is a deep, high level understanding of who you are, self mastery. Because when you can master yourself, that can put you in any situation and you know how to relate to it and proactively move so that you keep winning. But if you know how to master yourself, the situation is going to tell you who you are and you're going to be reactive. So it says, it's to teach the candidate of self mastery. And then it said this quote, and I'm like, oh, this is what I'm on to. It says, in the measure that a man or woman has mastered themselves, and in that measure only are they qualified to govern others. You can just meditate on that one all day long. In the measure and in the measure only are you fit to govern others. How well does that tie into lead what you live? Most people are leading and they're not living it. And you
A-
know how you know? Because the relationship with themselves is telling on them. And I see it in seconds when I measure their health and fitness. You're leading with so much knowledge, but you're leading with knowledge, but you're not living it with the wisdom. So you're
Absolutely.
not leading what you live. And we see that a lot in this world of transformation leadership. You see so many leaders overextended, so busy ahead of it in knowledge, but they're not caught up in experiential beingness. And a game is going to neutralize all that. Because in the future, I feel the masses are going to say, yes, I love your Tony Robbins. I love your Wayne Dyer. I love your Joe Dispenza. I love doing CrossFit or Weight Watchers. I love it all. I want to see what level your true power is. And I want to see your numbers in the game because I want to see if you're really convicted and put it together because I like those strategies, but I can see you're teaching it and you still don't know how to activate it in yourself. So the game is all about activation and measuring your ability to love yourself, be accountable to something more powerful, and align with principle, which is balance. And when you put it together, it creates true independence. I'm going to pause right there.
That's beautiful. And I know that you will have a book coming out soon, actually, that will viewers will be able to read more about that, what it means to be truly independent. And also, like you said, many have a difficult time defining or understanding what is codependency. It's not just in the context of like being codependent in an intimate relationship, although that's where we kind of most see it or experience it. But there are codependency in many other relationship dynamics, personally and professionally, and other things, where we have dependency. And then Stephen Covey talks about, and again, in his 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the importance of becoming in relationships independent first, in intimate partnerships, and then becoming interdependent, the distinction between, interdependent and and codependent. Could you speak on that?
Thank you, Tina. Absolutely. So codependency is an addiction to pouring into others or working at the cost of your health. So once again, it's an addiction to investing in others or working at the cost of your health.
People
Due
pleasing.
to, yes, there's a lot of ways of doing that. It's due to moral obligation or feeling trapped by your responsibilities and your values. So it's an addiction to serving others. It's amazing. And you would never see it happen because you feel that's the highest way to live. Some people say, God, use me up. I want to serve. But when something's an addiction, it just means that whatever you're doing is costing you your health. It slowly kills you. So you can give so much to everyone else in your work that spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, you keep losing. By the time you're 40 or 50, you're calling me because you're like, how could I lose when I'm doing something that's so beneficial to the world? And I'm like, because you're codependent. And what drives them, where they don't see it, is moral obligation. People will die to be right, literally. That's why they flew into the buildings.
Literally.
In
That's
9
where
11,
they
they flew in.
dead
Yeah,
right.
right. So
Dead right.
people die to be right. So once you lock into moral obligation, life doesn't matter. If it says die, that's what you do. So next is feeling trapped by your responsibilities. We call it the hero or shero syndrome. And once you feel like you're the one that has to take it on, it's a habit, it's a character. You're just so used to always taking it on. You're that kid who had to raise your sister and brother, and now you're the one everyone comes to. And if you don't do it, they're not gonna live, they're not gonna survive. And you really believe it. And you just keep showing up at the cost of yourself, and they can't even see it because you've always shown up for them. Last, it's an addiction to more, or it's at the well, we say it's at the cost of your health and fitness due to moral obligation or feeling trapped by your responsibilities and values. The last one is your values. What's most important to you and meaningful, your values, which was programmed since birth. So if I had to sum that whole definition up, I would say codependency, to get very succinct, is an addiction to your values. That's what you don't see. So your values are what drives you. And if your values are wrapped around culture or society's values, they can work until they stop working. So what we do in this game is we teach you how to wrap your values around principles because principles don't shift. Universal principles will always be consistent, but values can shift from culture to culture, religion to religion, marriage to the next marriage. It can shift. And that constant shift creates this chaos that you never get settled on what's consistent and true because it's always shifting. And you're always trying to adapt to that shift to be successful. That's what we call outside in. So in this game, we teach you how to create habits and how to embody those habits around principle until you embody them until they're in your somatic. You exercise until they're somatic, they're in your cells, your body. And as you move your body, it puts you in that energy frequency of alignment with principles. The more you move from there, then you can choose the values that align with that. That means some of the important values that are in your life right now will fall away naturally because they're no longer your source of power. And now they're to support your true independence. And so that's what we do in the
Beautiful.
game. We start off with teach you how to make deposits into yourself. And then a lot of people already know how to do that, but then we measure it in an accountable system. And it's that consistent measurement in an accountable system that builds trust, which is totally unique from making deposits. So once you raise your value by making deposits, then trust comes from consistent measurement in an accountable system. And that's what the game does. And then once you can do that and start seeing the numbers, then you can start holding your standards according to the numbers you want to keep and manage and keep those standards. And that's what Tina said. When you start creating and holding standards for your own self-worth, for your own self-trust, then you have self-worth. Because self-worth is sustained trust. So that's how we teach you how to go from raising your value to sustaining self-worth. And that's the game.
That's beautiful. And so the game is actually, because we're going to come back and go deeper, I think we're going to have another conversation that's more specific about 2D independence and the program specifically, more in depth. Where can individuals find out more about and contact you and your team about the YDBG and the 2D independence program?
Thank you. If you go to www.the, that's THEYDBG, stands for Your Day Balance Game, the ydbg.com, to learn all about what I just shared with you. Also, we have a YouTube channel that we started about a year ago, and we put a lot of videos on there. And you can just go to YouTube and type in Your Day Balance Game. Your day is one word, balance, game. So you go there and just subscribe. You'll learn more about this and just follow the trail and it'll lead you to
You can learn more about the 2D Independence coaching program as well at the ydbg.com, correct?
yes. And also when you go to the YouTube channel, right there on that video, it'll show you the commercial that we put out there. It's right there on the top channel and underneath it has a link. Once you hit that link, you can set yourself up to have a clarity call with a coach.
You have the most beautiful energy and it's so consistent. It's so consistent. You're vibing there at your 500 plus. I experience you all the time in joy. Really, it's
Mm,
not just like, oh, you're so happy or you're so positive. You truly embody joy. And it is such a pleasure and a gift to be in your presence. And so
thank
thank
you.
you for taking the time. I know you're so busy to be here with me and have this conversation today. And so I am so excited for what is ahead with the YDBG, which I support 100% and get to be a part of. I'm grateful for that. So thank you for that opportunity. And like he said, the ydbg.com. Check it out on YouTube. Check out the website, the 2D Independence Program. And if you are a leader in what you live, you actually are living what you lead, and you know some powerful leaders, I'd like to talk to them. So reach out to me, DM tinalizzio.com, and I look forward to speaking with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. Have a blessed day.